Hey!
We are live.
All right,
Hello.
welcome. We are Infinite Awesome Cape and Cowl Book Club Show. Nice
Nice
work.
work.
As you can tell, I'm still getting used to the screen. I should have pointed that way at Cody, but I pointed that way, away from Cody.
That is weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
So, hello. This
welcome.
is our very first Infinite Awesome Cape and Cowl Book Club show. Nice work. And that is what it's called. Don't believe any other sources. We are here to talk about awesome comic books that we love and have loved and want you to love. So, it's very, very exciting. I have a whole pile of them. I know Kevin does too. And I guess we're just going to jump into it, and hopefully people jump in and join along. You guys have questions and stuff, and you want to chat about it, please feel free to do so, and we'll keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, if you guys think of anything, you want to have some input, Cody will be monitoring the comments so we can hopefully respond to your questions and things like that. We picked some books that are new, we picked some books that are a little older, picked some books we haven't read in a while but we love, and hopefully we can make you love them too. Who wants to go first? You want to go first, Cody?
Sure, I'll go first. Hi, Mike Rowe. I see you in the chat. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. Yeah, so I will go ahead and talk about one of my first picks for tonight. This is a graphic novel called Abbott. This is written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Sami Kivela. I hope I didn't butcher that too much. For those not familiar with Saladin Ahmed, he's done amazing work at Marvel. He did Black Bolt. He's done a whole bunch of stuff. He's writing Miles Morales right now. Is he also writing Ms. Marvel right now as well? He took over the reins of that from G. Willow Wilson, I believe. Yeah. Great writer, actually pretty prolific. Love his stuff. And this was no exception. This comic ticks a lot of boxes for me. It's set in the 70s and it's a horror book. I am obsessed with 70s horror films, novels, pulpy shit, and comics as well. And so he set this in the 70s in Detroit, 1972. And it is a female black journalist who, I mean, right away, I'm already sold. Those are all things that tick my boxes. But you throw in a paranormal slant, and I'm there. This book is about demonic spirits, essentially, and this woman, Abbott, who gets tied up in it. She is a beat journalist and works for a newspaper in Detroit where she is kind of investigating cases where young black people are, dying, going missing, and the bigger newspapers aren't covering it. It's not really news to them. She's taken it upon herself to kind of tackle these cases. And one of these cases starts leading her down this dark path where she's finding, it's pretty gruesome. There's like disembodied pieces of young men, essentially. And you think you're getting into kind of like a crime beat comic, but all of a sudden she starts seeing these huge messed up visions of like these strange centaurs and other mythic creatures. I'll try to show some off.
Hi, Eitan.
Is Eitan here?
Oh yeah, Eitan is in the comments calling us nerds.
Ooh, acting a fool.
Just reminded me I should have started the podcast with "What's up, you fucking nerds?" like I planned, but I failed. Hey, Mike Rowe, yeah, we'll make a post of the Rex after the show. That's a good idea. We've been doing that with our pick of the weeks, and we can certainly do that here. And I'm very glad those dividers worked for you. I'll put a couple of packs aside for you. All right.
Hi, Eitan.
All right. I think you were going to show us some dope ass Abbott, right?
I was indeed. Yeah. So basically, let me see if I remember how to do this. Okay, there we go.
There it is.
So basically, she is investigating a crime scene, and it kind of triggers her a little bit. And we basically see her trigger is kind of a flashback to other gruesome scenes that have been haunting her. Turns out her ex was deeply involved in the occult and some pretty dark shit. And this case is kind of sending her back into that world that she kind of left behind of these unexplained paranormal aspects of her life. And basically all these like young black men being like sort of like dismembered. They're essentially like showing up in her vision. She's realizing that these are the victims, and they're like pieced together into these crazy mythic beasts like a centaur, etc. And she gets thrown into this dark underworld with some pretty messed up occult stuff. So it's basically Black female beat journalist out there in 1972 Detroit covering the stories that the big newspapers won't cover. And then there's paranormal shit going on. I mean, yeah. And Saladin Ahmed behind the writing wheel, like this book got me right away, and I just read it for the first time this year and absolutely fell in love. It's high up there on my favorite books, so yeah, it's a good one.
And that was an Eisner winner, wasn't it, or a nomination at least? I believe.
Was it?
I think that was nominated the year that like Crowded got nominated, so maybe last year. But yeah, it's so good. In fact, you just told me more about it than I knew about it. I just knew the blurbs. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, but it's high on my list. Very
yeah, I was unfamiliar with it, but there's the blurb on the cover is by Patton Oswalt, and it just says, "This book is amazing, a Val Lewton-esque hybrid of horror and investigative journalism set in 1972 Detroit." I was like, "Yep, okay."
You should have just wrote Cody Keene on the cover, right? Pretty much. So also in the comments, guys, if you are seeing a weird freeze or it starts getting laggy or shitty, audio starts chopping, or you're getting a lot of echo, let us know. Since this is our first podcast, we don't have a lot to compare it to, and we would like to make it as pleasurable a listening experience as possible. So any input is helpful. Thank you. All right, what should I do? Should I do like a single issue of something new? Let's do that. I'm gonna do a new one. So this is also kind of a spooky one. This came out last week. It's kind of a weird one. I don't typically read a lot of Oni stuff right as it comes out. I like Oni books, but not a lot of their singles tend to grab me. This one, on the other hand, was pretty cool. It's called Bane. It's the first issue in what is hopefully, I would imagine they're going to go at least 5 or 6 issues. It's about a squad of undead criminals, a bunch of gals who they knock off banks, but these aren't your normal banks. These are blood banks because they're undead. So you got these vampires roaming around, kind of doing their thing. This is also set back in the past, so there's a little bit of like that systemic racism and gender stuff going on, and pretty basic plot up front, but it gets to this point where the black lady in the group gets triggered by someone at the bank that they're robbing. And I want to get to that because this is like the coolest freaking part of the issue. Okay. The security guard's saying, "Go ahead, you don't have the stones." She says, "Everyone close your eyes." And he says, "I ain't afraid of your kind." Not really what you want to say to a black female vampire who's robbing your bank. She says, "Oh, really? I guess I should give up then." And then she shoots herself in the head. And that, reasonably so, causes some concern for the guard who just saw her blow her brains out. Scared yet? Okay, so the book was cool, and then I got to that part, and I was like, sign me up, I'm down. The book is written by Elliot Rahal. And it's also co-created with Elliot Rahal and Emily Pearson, who actually was the artist from The Wilds, she's a local gal who did, I think it's Black Mask that The Wilds is on. It was also a really cool book. This one seems like it's going to be fun to read. And then, of course, you think this is just a book about a bunch of vampire gals knocking over blood banks, but then they sign up to go fight the Nazis. I have no idea where this book is going, but I am into it. So check this out if you guys want to check it out. We've got plenty available in the store. You can purchase them on our website at Comic Hub, or just stop by the shop. We'll hook you up. Boom.
So just really quick, Aton pointed out we're getting some echo when Kevin doesn't mute. So I guess we'll just try to be more aware of that. Sorry, everybody. We're in the same room, but we're doing the distance thing. So it's this funny little dance we're doing. But can I just say, that panel that you showed, where she's looking him in the eye and says, "Scared yet?" That was like, I just got a huge chill. Like you told me that story about what happens in that book when we were working, but like seeing that panel, like, wow, that was savage. The look in her eye, like I love that art actually. Like seeing the look in her eyes was like intense. Like I felt that in my soul.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous art. I mean, I think that both the exploding head and her response, but also that security guard's face after he sees the back of her head come off is just like you can tell that guy's not going to be okay for a very, very long time. And he deserves it. Fuck that guy. All right, yeah, it was just super good. So I see a couple of you are interested in it. We'll try to keep track of the comments. I would say maybe at the end of this, just to be safe, we don't want to miss any of you. Maybe send us an email, or can we review the comments afterwards, Cody? Did they save?
You know, that's a really great question. We should test that today and see if I can just go through the log. But
Okay.
yeah, we need to talk about, I guess, how like when people are live and interested in something, how we want to take care of that for you guys, because we want to make sure these get in your hands. So
I'm gonna grab some paper.
yeah, if not, we'll at least take a log. We'll just maybe jot down your name and take care of you there. I think that would be a good idea. I mean, that's the whole point of the show, is to get these things into your hands.
That's right. And we can't very well put nice work at the end if we're not doing any work. So let's see here.
Mike Rowe wants to know if these are Nazis from World War II or Nazis from Illinois.
No, I think it's Nazis from World War II. It seems to be in that era. So yeah, good stuff. Right. So do you want to let me know when people say they want something and I'll write it down?
Yeah, for sure. We can do that.
Okay. All right. Cool. So if we didn't catch you on that one, we'll try to write these down as they come in over the next books that we show. We got lots. So all right, Cody, your turn. I'm gonna mute my mic.
All right, sweet. So my next pick is another horror book, actually. I wanted to point out that like I've been reading a lot of horror, not just because I love it, but because it's October and that's a thing you do like in normal times. So it should be a thing you do in these abnormal times, because normalcy sometimes is nice and comforting. So my next book I'm going to talk about is Infidel. This is a book by Pornstack Pichetshote, and shoot, what's his last name? Campbell. He did Aaron Campbell. That's right. Aaron Campbell. He recently did the Hellblazer book, which is gorgeous. This guy's perfect for horror shit. But anyway, this book, fabulous. Some of the genuinely spookiest art I've seen. I'm just gonna flash. I'm not even gonna like explain what this is about before I show you guys. But here, let me make it big. I'm just gonna hit you with this panel because it's like the first like spread you see. I mean, so haunting. Like I peeked in this book without knowing anything about it, and I saw that panel and I was like, what the actual hell am I looking at? Essentially, this book is about the dangers of hate, the dangers of racism, the fear of the things we don't understand that, you know, somehow we're just still scared of, even though we share so much of the same space together. It's about a young Muslim woman who moves into this apartment building with her partner's mom, I believe. And this apartment building carries a lot of baggage, let's just say. It's haunted by the spirit of hatred and the spirit of racism. And it manifests itself constantly in the tenants who live here because they're all paranoid and very much on edge because there was a bombing in this building that happened. And everyone was suspicious of an Arab man who lived in one of the rooms. And so this kind of like misconception and racism that is just festering in this one spot. It's almost like that movie The Grudge, like when someone dies in the grip of a terrible rage, you're just haunted. It's kind of like that, except it's just like their very emotions are manifesting. Terrifying stuff, and it's full of a very diverse cast of characters, and it's incredibly important for the story for that to be the case because they're all coming from these different walks of life and have these conversations. And normally this kind of like, you know, this kind of like approach to storytelling might seem ham-fisted, but it's actually incredibly natural. I mean, these characters talk like anyone would talk. When you're with your best friends and you're hanging out and you're talking about the crazy social climate we live in, that's very much how they talk. It's very real. It's very raw, and immensely fucked up shit happens. I mean, there's at one point, one of our characters, she's a young black woman, is talking to this woman in the building who's just kind of spewing casual racism. And as these things happen, you start noticing in the background manifestations of the spirits of evil. So she's kind of like running her mouth, and the young black woman looks behind her, and her hatred is manifesting like in the walls behind houseplants. You'll just see a crazy, scary face. Aaron Campbell on this art, just really killing it. There's a little bit of nudity here, so I'm gonna block it out. But like, this is a good example of the kind of faces and just horrific scenes you'll find in this book. Really does justice to the fact that, you know, hatred and our own capability of evil is the scariest thing in the world. And so this is one of the spookiest books, but also one of the most important books I've read in a long time. Highly recommend it. It's very socially aware in a way that's not preachy. You'll fall right into it. It's natural, and it's just some real shit.
I think that also was Eisner, wasn't it? Isn't there a little sticker on the cover there? Didn't that win some awards?
I'm not sure about an Eisner, but it certainly was selected for NPR's 100 favorite horror stories of all time.
Okay.
Which
Yeah,
is cool.
it got a lot of accolades when it came out. It was real popular for good reason. Sweet. Excellent choice, Cody.
Well, thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay. Here, I'm going to do something super random and weird. I read some manga on my lunch yesterday, purposefully for this show. I wanted to pick something weird, something you could get in at on the ground level, and I think I found it. This book is called Chainsaw Man. It is about a young boy who is left alone when his father commits suicide. Already kind of dark. But his father leaves him with this tremendous debt that he owes to this, basically like the mob. And in order to, and basically the kids, there's no way he can pay this back. But he finds a little puppy demon that has a chainsaw sticking out of its face, and he makes friends with it. And then they decide to become demon killers, and every demon they kill, they make money, and thus begins his life of trying to work his debt down. He gets double-crossed, as people are, as happens in situations like this. And through a really crazy event that I won't spoil for you, he becomes one with his chainsaw pooch demon and becomes Chainsaw Man, which also gets him inducted into the official Demon Fighters Guild, run by the city. But they treat him like a dog. He's like a demon pet for them now. And I just got to show you some of the art in this. It's super cool. Okay, so first thing we got.
Mike Rose says, if there ever was a Kevin title.
Chainsaw Man. So that's the little puppy. You get used to this angle thing. See the little chainsaw puppy? He's so cute. Okay, and then he's like, and all the devils are basically like, it's a tomato devil, or it's since he's a chainsaw, since the dog I think is a chainsaw devil, that's why he becomes Chainsaw Man. So it's like there's a devil for everything, whether it's an inanimate object or an emotion or something. It's kind of silly, but let me show you some cool ass actual. I don't want to show you that. I don't want to spoil that one. So him and his little puppy demon make a deal. He's like, I'll save you if we can just be buds forever and kill demons. Isn't that sweet? Such a touching tale. And then he's like, oh shit, Puchita, where'd you go? But he's got the chainsaw drawstring sticking out of his chest now. You guys want to see what happens when he pulls the string?
Yeah, show us.
That happens. He turns into a metal-faced. He's got chainsaws coming out of his forehead, out of his forearms. I think he has one that comes out of his chest, or maybe he even sprouts an extra arm that has one. It's weird, man. This is like totally my style. There's another cool picture of the Chainsaw Man. So it's bloody, it's fun, but it's cute. This kid is like so immature and has really not experienced any life because he's been living, destitute and by himself, that as soon as he becomes this demon, the next thing on his mind is, I got to meet a girl. I got to get some kisses. it's the best. So it's only one book so far, but I think it's going to be cool as it continues, and manga comes fast and furious. So if you're looking for a cool new manga to check out, Chainsaw Man, we got plenty of volume 1. Let us know.
The art on that was pretty dope, I won't lie. There's something about seeing all of that carnage and line work in stark black and white that's irresistible, and manga has that always to find. I wanted to point out, I blocked some nudity and infidel, and Jen DH says, wait, blood, gore, and cussing are fine, but nudity is out? Yes, I want to tell you, I was just having this conversation with Aton, actually, about how that is America, and you are so on the money. And you see how that's just years of conditioning of being an American to be like, oh, let us not show the human body, but let me show you multiple decapitations on this page. So yeah, I wanted to highlight that because I 100% agree with you, and look at me, I'm so conditioned to be that way too. So thanks for pointing that out. That was funny. But yeah, that Chainsaw book looks pretty cool. I guess I'll just go ahead with my next one. Keep the ball rolling. This book is called Deep Roots. Deep Roots is by Dan Waters, who in the past year has become my favorite writer. There, I said it. I'm so enamored with this man's work. He wrote Coffin Bound, which is how I found him, and I rage about that in the store all the time. I rave about it online. It's recently back for its second season, essentially. But I found Dan Waters' writing, and I fell in love with it because there's so much to it, and he's not afraid to be blatantly like over poetic to the point of it being funny. Like his sense of humor is very specific, and I just love it. And he writes kind of these really like poetic existential themes most of the time. It's kind of a running theme in a lot of his work. But this book here, the easiest way that I would describe it is kind of like a Swamp Thing on shrooms. And Swamp Thing already gets kind of shroomy, but this book here is basically like the world of nature, the natural world, the environment itself has this realm, and we are slowly encroaching on the realm with our litter and our bad habits and, you know, our farming. We're kind of chipping away at the border between our realms, and theirs is suffering. All the beauty, these magical elves have all died, that kind of thing. And this book is great at playing with who you think will be the hero. It opens up and we meet essentially, he's very much like a Swamp Thing type figure. And when we meet him, we kind of expect him to be our hero. He's essentially like a sentinel of the green, to use Swamp Thing vernacular. He's like a warrior of the green. He's kind of lamenting that things are like this. He finds like what's clearly a Snickers wrapper like blowing in cola bottles, and he's like, what has this become? And you're like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of those stories. But it quickly changes because the very next scene we have a group of sentient Brussels sprouts robbing a bank. This art is by Val Rodriguez, by the way. So the next scene is a group of sentient Brussels sprouts holding up a bank, and the Brussels sprouts are saying all these threatening things, but the only words that they use are things that a parent would tell their kid who's desperate to get them to eat vegetables. Like, that's how they talk. That's the only way they talk. So they're holding up the bank and they're just like, no dessert for you unless you finish your greens, and then like shooting people in the head. And that's all they say. They don't say anything else. And you're kind of like, what the fuck? The story goes on. We meet another guy. He's like a tough as nails, like soldier type. Very, very like, you think you're reading another predictable ass story where like, you know, the white guy is going to come in here and he's just going to be jacked and he's going to have big muscles and he's going to like save the day. He dies in the next scene. It's not a spoiler. It's like, it all happens that fast. And you're like, this is the hero. No, it's not. This is the hero. No, it's not. You keep meeting new people. And it ends up being one of the main characters is actually an eco-terrorist. She's an apparent eco-terrorist who is like, she's done so many shrooms that she's like come into contact with this other realm essentially, and it's calling to her. And so she goes on an expedition into this other world. And I did want to point out more of the art though, real quick before I keep going. The art is done in this very painterly fashion. And if you look closely to her face right there, a lot of this book is done as if they were rings of trees, like tree stumps. When you see the rings and see, you know, how old the tree is, how that tells its story. A lot of textures in this book are done that way. Their skin, you'll find swirls, and everything's kind of like, it's a visual motif that goes on with the rings of these trees, which I thought was a really nice touch. The art is beautiful, very painterly, very swirly like that, which goes well with the kind of psychedelia that it goes for too. And you'll find it's just a treasure trove of crazy concepts, and that's what Dan Waters is so good at. There's like this small, like rubbery not mech suit because it's not big, but it kind of is form-fitting, that this one woman uses to go infiltrate the world, because like the natural world is encroaching on ours as well. So entire skyscrapers are eroding and crumbling, and like the branches are actively fighting our world, and so it's like ripping down structures. And it's just great because the Brussels sprouts are indeed revisited. Later on, we find out that a lot of vegetation has learned hate from us, from humans. So the sentient Brussels sprout was one that came to life who was literally like on the plate of a kid. So all it learned was the mom yelling things at him. So they essentially learned how to be angry from us. And so the vegetation is fighting us using our own anger that they learned from us, which is just wacky and wild. But I won't spoil where this goes, but look forward. If you pick this book up, look forward to it taking massive turns. And if you like things like Greek mythology, you like big sweeping mythological aspects in your fiction, there's some surprises to be had near the end of this book that are just truly, the scale of it is something that you wouldn't necessarily expect going in, but it goes there. And Dan Waters goes there. And that's why he's my husband. He doesn't know it yet, but we're married. So deep roots.
And it's 2 volumes. Is that the complete run of it, or is it continuing from there still?
Oh yeah. So this volume, this is actually a one and done. You can,
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you can pick this up and be completely satisfied.
Always looking for a good one and done. That's for sure. Whoop. All right. Very cool. I won't do more manga. I won't do more issues that are.
Oh, but also, thank you, Micro. Drugs are bad. Don't do shrooms to contact other worlds. Just don't do it.
I don't know. I like shrooms. All right, let's go with a good old. Let's go with another crime caper. I know I talked about some vampire ladies that were robbing blood banks, but I want to tell you about one of my favorite heist comics involving superheroes, written by your boy Mark Millar. I know some people aren't huge Millar fans. There's no denying the weight of his catalog of stuff, and it seems like everything's written for a movie. This is no exception. It feels like Ocean's 11 with the most ridiculous superheroes thrown into the mix. And they're kind of anti-heroes, the guys that are pulling off this heist. And they're basically going after a supervillain crime lord who is protected by basically like Captain America. So they have to figure out, using all of their superpowers in their tool belt, such as telekinetics. They've got psychics on the team. They've got people that are super fast. They've got these 2 rowdy ass MMA like WWF brothers that cannot be killed. And there's this hilarious scene where they're trying to break through this hallway full of lasers, and they just run into the hallway, because it doesn't matter if their legs or arms or faces get cut off. They just grow back real quick, and then they get up and continue. And by the end of it, it's this fucking hallway full of body parts. It's amazing. I'm going to show you guys that part. But this is also a one and done. Let's see, where is that part? Oh yeah, I forgot. So the supervillain crime boss, his supervillain power is he makes heads explode. Pretty terrifying. He just pops heads. Damn, where are these guys getting cut up? I should have queued this up better. Sorry, everybody. Okay, here we go. Okay, so these brothers are like, all right, let's hit that hallway. I gotta get up so I can get. And they start getting just chopped to little itty bitty bits. There's the hallway they gotta make across. It's not going so well for them. And even while they're doing it, the superhero, oh, there you go. 13 long minutes later, the superheroes are holding the puke back in their hands because their buds have just been, there you go. There's the final shot that I wanted to show you. Lots of little body parts. But it's, I don't know, like there's a huge twist at the end. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give it away, but definitely check it out. If you're a fan of heist stuff, you want a nice, tight little 5-issue book that you can read and be completely satisfied with the ending, I highly, highly recommend it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool Mark Millar stuff. This ranks at one of the best ones in my opinion. I like this one and Nemesis are two of my faves. I hope they turn this into something, though I don't think they will with the deal with Netflix. Cool, Super Crooks. Bam. People outside yelling.
It's like people screaming outside. I was like, what? That's awesome, though. Let me see. Anything going on in the chat? I see some people with love for Deep Roots. That's cool. Kind of only one job option for a head popper. Yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Work is not to come by.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Mike, it's just the one book, and we've got one copy of it, and we reorder it when it sells. So if you guys want to check that out. And Mike's asking opinion of Incognito. Well, Mike, Incognito actually happens to be my most favoriteest Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips collaboration ever. So definitely read Incognito if you have not.
I have very much been meaning to check that one out, actually.
Yeah, there's actually a really cool thing. So Incognito was, who's the publisher for that? Vertigo, I think. Or no, Icon. It was an Icon comic. And then it disappeared forever. You couldn't find the hardcover. It was like $100-something on eBay. And then out of nowhere, Image announced they were going to be republishing Incognito. And so I assumed we would be getting Image copies of that book. What arrived were first printings of the original Icon hardcovers that apparently Image had worked out a deal to purchase the rest of Ed Brubaker's stock, or a couple pallets of stock. So the stuff that we're actually selling is first print hardcovers of Incognito. I think that's pretty awesome. So now you know. Boom. All right. What do you got for us, Koji?
All right. So I thought I would swing it as well and do some superhero stuff because I love superhero stuff. I wanted to talk about a complete collection that came out this year. For those who missed it, this is Young Avengers, the Kieran Gillen and McKelvey run. This stuff is fantastic. I did not read it for so long, and that's really, really weird. I don't know why it took me so long, because when I finally did, I realized that it absolutely lives up to the hype. This is a group of young kids who originated here in Alan Heinberg's Young Avengers. This is another complete collection that's their origins, and it's fantastic as well. Great stuff in here, but this is very much more like your standard superhero fare. Kieran Gillen took it and made it like soap opera superhero, the kind I look for. Soap opera superhero is my kind of book, and you get that in spades here with this huge, diverse cast, all young kids that are somehow connected, to the big Marvel names. And I have a feeling that a lot of these characters are going to be showing up in the MCU in the future, so get ahead of the curve. Everyone's going to be looking for these guys. And I wanted to highlight it particularly now because Wiccan and Hulkling feature heavily in this book. And they're kind of the kings of space right now. So if you want to learn where they came from and why they are the way they are, a lot of this book goes into that. Jamie McKelvey on art, I mean, we all know he's just impeccable, very clean lines, excellent things, excellent facial expressions. That's kind of how McKelvey excels, if you ask me. And it's fantastic. It's also one of the most visibly queer teams in mainstream superhero comics by far. Almost everyone on this cover is gay or bi or pan, like almost all of them, which is just fantastic to have that visibility in such a mainstream big book with young kids that, teenagers that you can relate to. People of all ages can relate to these guys, though, because let's face it, we've all been like bored and disenfranchised and annoyed with adults, and we all wanted to do things ourselves, and that's exactly what these guys do. there's just a lot to this too, like a lot of really smart choices by Kieran Gillen. I mean, one of the main characters is America Chavez. If you guys don't know who America Chavez is, definitely pick up this book. She doesn't feature too heavily right away, but by the end, you absolutely fall in love with her. And if you need any convincing, she is a young Latinx queer young woman who literally kicks down borders between realities. She kicks down walls. So build a wall, not around America Chavez. Just saying. I'm not scared to get political. I hope nobody minds that. Sorry. But it's fantastic. It's great comic books, great superhero action, soap opera, emotional drama. Read it.
How does that hold up next to like Runaways for you? I'm assuming you've read Runaways, right?
So Runaways is not something I've read all of, and I really need to fix that so bad because I know I've read some of the original run. I've been meaning a long time to read Rainbow Rowell's run, but I wanted to do that after I get the full scope of,
sure. Brian Vaughn's run.
Yeah, that BKV action. So I'm gonna do that. I owe it to myself to do a full Runaways read through, because those characters are great. I mean, all the characters, and it's very much soap opera, like I love. So
yeah. I'll make you a deal. You read Runaways and I'll read Young Avengers. And we'll compare.
Oh, we should. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. Right on. Excellent. That's one of those ones I've been meaning to read for a really long time too. I think I read the first volume, but there's a couple volumes to it, I believe. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's do something that's super fun. Who doesn't like a good revenge book? Old Man Hawkeye. This is done by, who did you say the artist was, Cody? Oh, written by Ethan Sachs, who's doing all the Old Man stuff lately. It's been pretty good. I think he did Old Man Star-Lord. Old Man Quill, I mean. Yeah, and Chichetto does the art. Basically, this is Wasteland stuff. So this is in the future after all the superheroes die, after the supervillains organize. And if you've read Old Man Logan, he's kind of feeling bad about his part in that, and living out in the desert, and he encounters some real gross hillbilly hulks, and it goes bad. But it's a great story. This kind of picks up in that same universe where everything's gone wrong. Hawkeye is starting to lose his vision. He's getting really old. But you know what? Not too old for revenge. He decides to hit the old dusty trails and gather a couple allies who can help him, because he needs help at this point. And set out on his path to avenge the deaths of all of his friends. And it's a 12-issue series. It's all contained in this one book that we sell for $30. Totally worth it. And across the 12 issues, it just ramps up the level of insanity, and the villains that he's encountering, these old rogues gallery villains that he's encountering, he kills a lot of them, which is pretty awesome, because I feel like a lot of times, punches get pulled. You want to see the villain pop back up in a later story, not in the Wasteland. And he has to deal with this insane version of Bullseye, who is basically the sheriff of Wasteland. He's got a cybernetic eye. He's got like a derby hat and a little twirly mustache, full-blown villain. And I think he even has to fight a bunch of symbiotes at one point. So if you like symbiotes, there's even some shit in here for you if you like symbiotes. The ally that he chooses to take with him on this journey of revenge is Kate Bishop. She's kind of like trying to talk him out of it the whole time. Like, you sure you want to kill this person? You sure you want to go here? You're not going to get any better. He's just like, Kate, I don't fucking care. I want to kill these guys. There you go. Kate Bishop right there. I got to point that way. So I think if you love revenge, you love superheroes, you want to see some symbiote action, you like those far-flung future tales of despair and retribution, this is like the best thing ever. Plus, there's also, I believe that Multiple Man is in this as an old guy. And you can imagine how crazy he is as a young dude. As an old guy, he's really, really crazy. Let me see if I can find cool, pages. I didn't flip through this for any...
Oh my God.
here we go.
I was not aware that there's an old crotchety multiple man in that book.
Yeah. Look
That sounds great.
at that old man bullseye. It's so good. Yeah, old crotchety multiple man is hilarious. What's the supervillain's name who's just like a gigantic eyeball? Do you remember his name?
Oh, that was the guy who was a big deal during like Original Sin?
Oh, Mr.
Or-
Horde,
Yeah.
dude. And of
Now-
course Bullseye's just go ahead.
Does Clint Barton retain like any of his like, his wit? Like, is he all grimdark, or is he like, still kind of like the old shit that Clint always is?
He's kind of like fly by the seat of his pants, and he's very like he makes cracks, but they're way less about being witty and funny and more about, I think, adding levity to like just a completely murderous situation where he is trying to take the life of these villains that he's fought for decades. Like there's even some villains that he's like fucking gotten cool with since Wasteland happened and has kind of had a tenuous sort of truce, but not when he starts down this road. He is going to make sure that his friends did not die for nothing. This might be, aside from Old Man Logan, it's one of my favorite old man stories out of Marvel that I've read. So I would highly recommend checking it out. It ends in blood and smoke and fury. It is. Look at the cover of issue 12 with Bullseye standing over Old Man Hawkeye. And it's also like hilarious because he misses. Like he'll shoot an arrow, which Hawkeye never would have missed the shot. He's like close to someone, and it lands next to them. And Kate Bishop has to like, oh, let me get that for you. So I think that you should all read it, if that wasn't obvious.
Plus, with Chichetto on art, you can't go wrong. And he's doing Daredevil right now, I think, unless there's like a fill-in artist or anything like that. But beautiful stuff. Mike Rowe said, "Love me some Kate." Yep, Kate Bishop is the truth. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Kate Bishop is the truth.
Hold on, yeah, Mike. She kind of feels like that Patsy Walker feels for Iron Man right now. She's like that sounding board that's just telling him his ideas are crazy or that he's wrong. He needs to do this differently. It's a cool dynamic between them. I mean, I know they've always kind of had that sort of a dynamic, but it really shines in this one.
Wait, are you suggesting that I like witty, no-nonsense female support characters? Is that what you're suggesting?
I think I might be.
That would be 100% correct.
Kevin knows. All right, what do you got for us, Koji?
Myself off mute. Okay, hello everybody. Lint asks, Patsy is an Iron Man. Yes, she is. I'm so happy to report. That's actually why I picked up this Iron Man run. I'm not like the biggest Iron Man guy. I just never have been. But I heard that I heard a rumor that she was going to be in this in this season, like it's a show, in the series, and so I immediately ordered it, and I'm not disappointed. So if you're a Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat fan, and you also are starved for content, jump on Iron Man immediately.
Dude, and on top of being like the sounding board for Tony, she kicks so much ass too. Like she just jumps into it and just starts kicking people in the face. It's awesome.
Yes,
right.
yes. Okay. So my next book that I'm going to talk about, it's another horror book. Go figure. But this is a new release. It came out under oh God, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Joe Hill, right?
Yeah, Hill House.
I don't want to say like Stephen King's son because like that's not like he's his own man, he's his own person. So yeah, Joe Hill, thank you. This is under Joe Hill's imprint. This is not written by Joe Hill, but it's under his Hill House Comics. And it's written by Carmen Maria Mercado and with art by Danny, who I also found through Coffin Bound alongside Dan Waters. And Danny has quickly become one of my favorite artists as well. Her style is completely unique. It's visceral. It might come off unfinished. Sometimes there's like when there should be shapes that we're used to, faces, bodies. Sometimes she'll just draw the lines to make suggestion of a shape and your mind kind of does the rest. It's very that. This is nice and shrink wrapped. I'm not going to tear it open, but I will show you some from a single issue in a minute just to get a taste of Danny's art. But this book is just immensely eerie, strange, totally that book that'll give you that creeping sensation. It's the small town that is it's like a coal mining town, and it's ravaged by, fires that don't seem to go out, which is, too real if you live on the West Coast right now. But it's also an issue here in this town. And essentially there's all kinds of fucked up things in the shadows. There's these like half deer, half woman things that creep around after dark. There's men wandering the woods with no flesh. And essentially what's happening is the women in this town are waking up with no memory of what happened to them for like the past amount of time. It might be like 24 hours. It's just extreme memory lapses. It's only happening to the females. And you get this sense that the men in this town know something. And these two women are the only ones, the main characters here are the only ones that are like onto how messed up this town really is and how this probably is not how their life should be. So these two girls who have a deep friendship and a love for each other, their bond is very tight. They decide they're going to get to the bottom of it. And what ends up happening is you just go down this rabbit hole of strange events. I mean, really weird. I mean, this is stuff. What goes on in this comic is stuff I've never seen in a comic book before. Like there's a like end page reveal at like the first issue, and it's not like a spoiler for the plot, so I'll just tell you. Essentially, there's a character who we barely get to know. She's like a classmate and a sometime lover of the main character. But she, like the panel just opens. It's like a top-down panel of her in her bedroom, and she has become a sinkhole. Like this woman has become a sinkhole. Like there's her torso, and then it's a sinkhole that like looks like it leads straight to hell. And that's how the first issue leaves you. And you're like, okay. And I love those what the fuck moments. They keep me around. And this book only gets weirder from there. You find out, you make some huge revelations about the town and how this town definitely has a deep rooted evil, and why it was enchanted, or cursed rather, why this town was cursed. The reason is completely shocking, and I won't give it away, but you find out that it happened for a very specific reason, that it's haunted by these fleshless men, these strange deformed creatures, and why the women are blacking out. Truly terrifying stuff, and I highly recommend it. But I do want to highlight some of Danny's art, just to show you guys kind of how unique it really is. It's kind of scritchy scratchy, so if you like, the more like artists like Bill Sienkiewicz, those kind of dudes, Danny's kind of up there. This is really hard to show you guys. I hope you can see things.
Make you bigger.
Oh, that's a great idea. I'll make my screen bigger. Okay, cool. I want to show you guys some of the weird stuff though. Where's the weird stuff? Oh yeah, flesh. Happy Halloween. So yeah, all kinds of spoopy stuff like this. Just like I said, some of the weirdest comics I've read was the series, and I love weird, and it's hard to explain, but man, it is a great series. And as it wrapped up, I just had a chill down my spine. It was truly, truly disturbing. What kind of comments do we have going on?
Mike Rowe was talking about. Oh wait,
Mike Rowe was talking about how he loved all the Hill House stuff, and I think that one that we didn't mention, Plunge, is also spectacular. That one was creepy as hell. You really can't do wrong reading any of those Hill House comics. Basket Full of Heads is great. But just based on this, I'm going to read Lola Woods. I don't think I've given that one a shot yet. And Mike, we will talk about Something's Killing the Children. We obviously love the shit out of that book, but I think we're going to do a more spooky Halloween centric episode next week, or we're definitely going to get into more spooky stuff because we're going to be getting closer to All Hallows Eve. So if it doesn't make it this video, we'll do it next time.
I was too excited, man. I jumped the gun. That's why like all of mine are horror. But, you know, 'tis the
Hey,
season.
nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
But yeah, Cosmic Creature said I'm getting Junji Ito vibes from that description. Very that, like this, especially like the sinkhole, the weird shapes, and thankfully, like it's some body horror, but it's nothing like too intense. Because I love horror, but I don't really like body horror. But that still didn't turn me away from this, even though there's immensely like weird body things happening in this book. It's so strange.
It's also why we will probably never review Family Tree on here because Cody's trigger is turning into a tree. So we're going to avoid that one probably. We'll just do it on an episode when you're not here.
Listen, I had a nightmare and it changed everything. Once you have a nightmare that you're pulling twigs and bramble out of your scalp, like once you have that nightmare, you won't want to read Family Tree either. I don't care if Jeff Lemire is writing it, you won't want to do it. But you know, it's a great series, sure. Read it, but I'm not going to. Mike Rowe, you rock, Cody. Thank you, Mike Rowe. And also thank you for spelling my name right. That's truly amazing. Thank you. Don't read Witches either. Oh no, I love that art.
No, you'd like Witches, I think. I mean, it's kind of scary, but it's not Family Tree style. Family Tree is a bit more of like the actual thought process of changing into a tree, which I think is what really freaks him out.
But Lynch says lots of turning into trees there.
Yeah. I mean, trees do play a big part. That's awesome. All right, well, I'm going to do one that's a little weird and different. I'm not just going to show you one book. I'm going to call your attention to this amazing series of basically franchised out stories written about one of my favorites. Wow, I just realized this is another Millar character. I didn't mean to go so Millar heavy on you guys. But hey, when in Rome. Hit Girl. So Millar wrote the original Hit Girl stuff back when he was doing Kick-Ass. It was super fun. I really liked it. And then that all ended for a long time. And then Millar came back. He signed a deal with Netflix, which included him only working on a few properties that they decided with him that he was going to work on. And then he was not supposed to do more with his past stuff because they want to own everything that he's doing now. So what happened was he got to write the first volume of this Hit Girl series, which, as I was showing you, it's got 6 different volumes right now. Hold on, my OCD is not going to let me. Okay. It's got 6 volumes currently, and each one is Hit Girl in a different place. So she travels off. We've got Colombia, Canada, Rome, Hollywood, Hong Kong, and India. And every single one of these is like a breath of fresh air. You get a new writer. I'll give you an example. So we've got Mark Millar on the first volume. We've got Jeff Lemire on the second volume with Eduardo Riso, the artist from 100 Bullets. We've got Hit Girl in Rome, written by Raphael Albuquerque and art by Raphael Scavone. This is one of the prettiest ones I've ever seen. She's looking for like a jeweled skull somewhere and chopping a bunch of people's heads off to get it. Hit Girl in Hollywood, written by Kevin Smith. It's about Hit Girl taking on sexual predators in Hollywood. And I think this came out a little bit before all of the Weinstein stuff and the Me Too movement. It was very timely. And then we've got Hit Girl in Hong Kong and Hit Girl in India, both stellar in their own right. This one written by Daniel Way, this one by Peter Milligan. Like they picked some awesome talent to get on these. I believe this is as far as it's going to go for now. There is a Kick-Ass versus Hit Girl that's coming soon to a comic shop near you. So if you're a fan of either of those characters, or you've been reading along with the Kick-Ass books by Fruscian, did I say that right? Frusin. I would check it out. It's going to be cool. I think this might be the end of stuff, but who knows? With Hit Girl and Kick-Ass, it never really ends up being. And did you guys have any questions about any particular volume in there that you saw, or did you see one that you want to check out? I will say that the Hit Girl in Canada, there's a lot of hockey in it too, which is pretty cool. She beats up a bunch of hockey dudes that are running drugs. Let's see.
Just Aton up in here trolling us hella hard, asking why Hit Girl isn't in school.
You guys, I think Aton is drinking.
We put it him on blast like that. Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Well, good luck getting a job later, Hit Girl. Love it. So anyways, I really like the Hit Girl stuff. I think you guys should check it out. If you want something fun to read, you don't have to read them in order at all. The story is not necessarily continuous. They don't really reference each other. It's just awesome, awesome stuff. All right, so that's my stack. Oh,
Eitan
you're
said he
really
really
curious
is
why
curious.
she's traveling? I don't know. She just kind of goes where she's needed. It does feel very episodic, like franchised out. Like it doesn't seem like there's any real connection between them other than she's accomplished her mission at the end of the book and she's moved on. Each book kind of starts with her explaining why she is where she's at. Like she'll introduce like the person that motivated her to stand up against this criminal enterprise. So I don't know. I don't think there's much more beyond that with the underpinning of the various plots. But yeah, hopefully that's a good enough answer. Yeah, Wanderlust for sure. Cool.
All right, so we have like a little under 5 minutes left. Do we want to just open it up and talk to people a little bit but right before we sign off?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
My buddy here, Casey Johnson, how's it going? He said, Cody, how is Swords going for you? How do you feel about the wife of Agaga so far? Okay, so for anybody that doesn't know, I listen to a podcast called Comic Book Queers, and they pronounce Apocalypse's new name as Agagagaga, and so like that's the only way I say it. He goes by that like 2 blocks and an A, so it's Agagaga to me. But yeah, the wife of Agagaga. I think it's super cool, and my favorite thing is people on Twitter drawing parallels between Apocalypse's wife and Richter, because he's like treating Richter so closely right now, and I think that's hilarious. But no, this Apocalypse mythology stuff, I'm loving it. I'm eating it all up. He's never been this interesting to me, like ever. Well,
yeah,
maybe Executioner's Song, because that's like a super underrated '90s event.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Agagaga forever.
Gaga. I've been liking the X of Swords stuff too. Just the cohesive design that Hickman's putting into it with like all the logos looking like swords. If you guys haven't checked it out, it wasn't really part of the X of Swords reading list. Was the handbook part of the reading list, Cody?
I don't think officially, no, but it's super handy. I mean, working
you
here,
guys should check it out. Yeah,
working here, like we got a lot of questions about like deep X-Men lore. I mean, I know that I definitely do, and I think the handbook is a awesome resource for those kind of things, because it really goes in there. The handbook is like super in depth. It's really worth the money because it's dense.
Yeah, it feels like a D&D handbook. Like it has all the characters, their skills and powers. It kind of feels like a Who's Who comic from back in the day. So if you guys want more information about the characters, we do have those available on the site. The Champions books. Yeah, it seems cool. Did you read Champions 1, Cody?
I didn't, but you know what? I want to, because I didn't realize. Well, I think I knew Al Ewing was writing it, and I love that man. I didn't realize that it's Simone DiMeo, so it's like the same creative team as We Only Find Them When They're Dead, which is really cool.
I do. The art looked totally not the style I thought it was going to. It was really cool. I don't know much about the plot right now. I guess it's in this mini sort of event called Outlawed, where essentially Miss Marvel is the face of it's not mutant registration. What is it? She's not supposed to fight crime or something, or she's been put on blast and they're like exposing her, or something's going on where she's basically a vigilante now. And she's kind of like, fuck it. We were fighting bad guys before anyways, let's just do it. So the team is kind of not as official right now. They're out there saving the day kind of from the shadows, which is tight. I don't know. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the stories where like stories where the youth is like rising up because the crotchety old superheroes aren't down with it. That's always cool. And any superhero that like fights for the truth and for justice against the will of like authorities or the society is fine by my book, because guess what? That's literally the Uncanny X-Men. So fighting for what's right even when nobody wants you to is like ace storytelling for me. And yeah, nobody ever wants the kids to fight crime. It was the same with the Young Avengers. It was the same when the Champions first started, because the Champions, today's incarnation of the Champions, started right because the Avengers had another civil war.
Yeah.
And so the kids were like, you guys are going to be heroes, we'll do it. And like, so they were the real heroes because, yeah, anyway, don't even get me started. But yeah, good stuff.
I mean, it carries across both publishers. I mean, you got Teen Titans, you got Legion of Superheroes. Old people never want to give up the reins, man.
Yeah.
So what other stuff did you have on deck that we were gonna talk about that we didn't get to? Let's show people some of the cool other stuff that we didn't talk about.
I think we should save it so we have more content for the future.
See, that's why you're the professional podcaster.
Yeah, for sure. No, also just because we're at an hour, so tonight we wanted to do a solid hour of just testing it, see how it's going to go, and I think it went super well. If it stays this well and gets more popular, we can even talk about going a little bit longer if necessary. We'll see. But this was a solid block of time. This person, I don't know who he is. He has a question. Something about being our boss and something about reasons why we like him, but we don't have to get into that. That's all the time we have tonight. Thank you, everybody. No, Aton's the best. Everybody knows it, and we agree. He's the best. There. You can log off now, Aton.
He's my bro, not my boss. He buys me fruit snacks and occasionally lunch.
It's true. It's true. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and sign off, though.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Remember, as the marquee below says, you can order anything we talked about tonight on our web store, which is super cool. You can place orders. We're happy to fulfill it. And we'd love to see your shiny faces come pick them up. So definitely check out the web store. Pick it up during our regular business hours, which has also been scrolling around here the first time, all this block of text you've been seeing. Other than that, yeah, hit us up on socials, Cape and Cowl Comics, Cape Cowl Comics, I think, on Instagram. Hit me up at the Mutant Menace everywhere. And Kevin, anything you wanted to plug? Do you have pluggable things?
No, my shit's private, dog. But Aton did say that we're gonna take a picture of the stuff that we talked about today, so we can post that if you guys have any trouble remembering. And actually, while we were talking earlier about keeping track of who wanted what, let's say that when we post the picture of what we talked about, just comment on that. If you want something we talked about, leave a comment and we will reach out to you. Boom.
Yeah, and as usual, let us know what you thought about this video in the comments. We love feedback. It's really helpful to make the show better for everybody. And hit subscribe on YouTube. Even if you have a YouTube account you don't use, hit subscribe. It's actually a huge help. People say that on YouTube all the time, but they say it for a reason. It actually helps a lot. So if you have free time, make sure to do that. And thank you guys so much. It was fun.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.